Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me for this video. Reading. Everyone knows that reading is important, especially when learning a foreign language. It increases your vocabulary, keeps your mind healthy, develops your imagination, and improves your thinking process, and eventually even improves our concentration. Surprising, isn't it, since so many of us struggle to focus when reading to begin with. But before we jump in, I want to say a quick thanks to the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. We'll talk about them a little later on in the video. I love to read very much, and you would know this if you watched my video on reading tips. If not, I'll link it down below in the description. As I said, I love to read, but this wasn't always the case. And I really struggled with my concentration when reading, whereas now you would literally have to stop me and snap me out of it because I'm usually completely drawn into the book. Plus, those people who have kids know that you basically don't have quiet time to be able to do whatever you want or relax or enjoy doing something in peace and silence. So if I wanted to read, I had to figure out how to detach from the outside world and focus, if that makes sense. So I know a thing or two about concentrating and actually remembering what you've read, and I want to share with the ones who need it. So tip number 1. Prepare yourself for the exasperation and rejection stage. I know some people really hate hearing this, but it's gonna take some time. It's a process. You're gonna have to train your brain to concentrate, and for some people, it's gonna be harder than for others. Some people might feel that nothing is working, they're just wasting their time, and that is going to lead to irritation with reading, and eventually they're just gonna say, reading is not for me. One of the big issues I find in any learning process is that people aren't patient. They want to see results immediately and they don't want to go through the baby steps, although they are essential. So if your intent is to improve yourself and you're ready to work or at least give it a try, take a deep breath, buckle up, and get ready for a little ride. Remember that it's all about the mindset, so set your mind in the right place. Okay, I'm glad that we've gotten this out of the way, and now we can dive into the specific things that'll help you. And one more thing, as I'm gonna be listing those things, you might find that you've already tried or had already incorporated some of these things into your life. So just consider those other things that I'm gonna be talking about. Choose something that you think you would really enjoy. Later on, when you learn to concentrate, you'll be able to read almost any book without wanting to fall asleep or awakening already at the end of the page, not remembering what it was about because your mind was somewhere in the Bahamas. I know you know what I'm talking about. But I will be honest, Lord knows that even now there are books that I just can't make myself read, even though people say that they are very good. So choosing the right material really matters, especially at the beginning stage. Speaking of which, if you're not yet used to reading a lot in English, it's better to start with something short. 1 or 2 page articles, some short stories or stories for kids. Nobody has to know that you're reading stories for kids. I read them to my son and I can attest that there are some very interesting stories and small books, and believe me, you will find in them new words for yourself. We have a video on our family channel about how and what books I read to our son. If you're interested, it's going to be linked in the description. I started exactly by reading articles on the internet, and I really had to make myself read them till the end because it's just really tempting to just scan the text. And this is what I usually do now to just quickly get the main points and not waste my time. However, at the time, my goal was to stay focused, at least for the short period of time needed to read a little article and remember what I've read. About remembering what you've read, we have a video on this. It's called How to Learn and Increase Your Vocabulary, but I'm talking about how to train your memory and memorize information in the video. So those principles work for remembering what you've read perfectly. Head over to the description, it'll be linked there. Find a quiet place for starters. I know, a very obvious tip, nonetheless important. It is simple and not so simple at the same time. It's not a secret that noises and chaos around are distracting. I mean, like people talking and children running, but I've never heard that the sounds of the outside world or nature distracted anyone. In fact, they help, and some say that light music helps as well. However, I should say that there are people who can read and concentrate in chaos and can't when they are alone and in silence. If you're one of them and you want to work this out, you should work from the bottom to the top, vice versa. But you might also be just afraid of being alone and in silence, which might cause anxiety, and this might be a psychological thing. But usually, the people who can concentrate in noisy places don't have a problem concentrating in silence. Anyway, when you can focus in peace and quiet, you can try to train yourself to concentrate in noisy places. The next things I'm going to mention go hand in hand with this one. And I'll tell you this right now. I really don't have a problem concentrating on work and reading, even when my son is around, like playing and yelling, as long as he's not bothering me, like yanking on my arm or asking me the same question like 100 times in a row. People who have children know what I'm talking about. But I've done all of these things that I'm suggesting in this video to get to this point. Make sure that you're not tired when you're reading. Unless you're trying to put yourself to sleep by reading, which is a real thing, by the way. If someone has problems falling asleep, doctors recommend excluding screen time 2 hours before going to bed and instead grab a book. Reading before bed helps you relax and really helps you fall asleep faster and has a lot more benefits. Therefore, you might want to think about incorporating reading into your bedtime routine. However, try to find a time and a way to read when you're feeling fresh and rested, when your brain is truly susceptible to receive information and work, because reading in English isn't always easy. Sometimes we use a lot of energy to understand the context because of unknown words. Okay, the next thing, and this is essential, stop multitasking. Eliminate all distractions like your phone, computer, or anything that might distract you. And this was very tricky for me because I used and still use my phone when I'm reading to look up the meanings of words or check the pronunciation of words I'm not sure of how to pronounce. So I would put my phone on silent mode so that no noises would distract me. However, I would still see my social media notifications pop up, and that would distract me, of course. Over time, I've learned not to be distracted by those. I just don't pay attention to the notifications that pop up on my screen, but as I said, it took some time. But I was looking into this when I worked on this video, and I found the solution to this. You can obviously control notifications on your phone in your settings. You can easily turn them off. Honestly, I didn't even think about this at the time. I just silently suffered. But I think I wouldn't do this anyway because I would always forget to turn them back on, which would just annoy me. But this is the solution. Timer technique. If you're someone who gets overwhelmed and exhausted by reading, or you get bored when reading, try this technique. Start with setting a timer for 5 minutes for each time you're reading, and then take a 5-minute break and then repeat this, let's say 3 times. But the number of repetitions depends on the person and how much time they have or are willing to spend reading. Then try setting a timer for 10 minutes, then 15 minutes. You got the idea. I personally don't read for more than 30 minutes at a time. I need to take a break. And last but not least, make sure that your health isn't an issue. And I would even say that if you experience any symptoms that I list below, you should start with this, or at the very least look into it and take care of your health. If you experience headaches, migraines, brain fog, unexplained fatigue, like you're feeling always tired or even exhausted, no matter what you do or how much rest you get, depression, anxiety, etc., please do yourself a favor and go for a checkup. Again, I'm speaking from my own experience. If you're experiencing any of these things, none of the advice I mentioned will work. Plus, the state of our health directly affects our brain functioning, thus affects our concentration and studying in general. If you'd like to find out more information about reading, Skillshare, the sponsor of this portion of the video, has a vast variety of classes on this topic, such as how to read books faster, IELTS reading, which is something I know a lot of you are interested in and would love to improve on. There's speed reading programs and a lot more. Plus, using Skillshare is very convenient because you can find needed information gathered in one place and accurately put together. It's an online learning community with thousands of classes covering dozens of topics for curious and creative people. If you're looking to explore your creative side, learn a new skill, or pick up a hobby, or get more into a hobby, or you're just looking something to do, then I think Skillshare is a perfect place to do that. And a very cool part, the first 1,000 of our subscribers to click the link in the description and join this learning community will get a free trial of premium subscription service. And after that, it's only around $10 a month. So go ahead and use this opportunity. Okay, that was a lot of information, but I really hope it was useful. As usual, if that was the case, give this video a big thumbs up. Until the next one.